Good morning, everyone. Good evening. Good night. Whatever time it is for you, thanks for tuning in. This is Nailed It Sports. My name is Caleb Nail. Recording early in the morning. You can tell if you're on YouTube, Nailed It Sports. It's not a pretty sight over here. It's not usually, though. Face for podcast, face for radio. It's been a while since I've been with you guys, so thanks for coming back. During these past 2 weeks, I've been diving into the Lord and his calling to have us be with him, and then he will guide our steps from there. Just having him guide me where he wants me to go. And it was great. So the first week, just so I want you guys to know, the first week I turned off social media, and for the first week and a half, and then I just got back on social media like 2 days ago. And Instagram, I'm not getting back on. Instagram I will never get back on. But I will be on X, posting these things, interacting here and there, but as little as possible. I'm thinking about what to share before we get into sports, because if you're new here, this show is really about Jesus first, and then this is my morning devotional, and then we talk sports after that. It's secondary. So I was thinking about what I was going to share this morning, and what I've been doing is 3 or 4 days ago, 4 days ago now, I decided I'm going to read the entire Bible in a year. So I'm reading. You know what? I may just take some passages, because we're doing how it works is an Old Testament passage, a New Testament passage, a Psalm, and a proverb. There's got to be something good in there. You know what? I'm just going to give it to the Lord. And then I ended up grabbing, and there was some good stuff in today's reading, by the way. I was reading about Noah, Jesus going out and getting his disciples, Psalm 4, and good stuff today. But I went out and grabbed this. This is from church. I'm talking about Nehemiah. Crazy story, and I think it gets glossed over a lot of the time. And then I feel like the Lord is calling me to something else, to share something else as I'm speaking, but I'll take some things from the Nehemiah story. And the neighbor's dog is here. It's just perfect timing. That's a staple here. Neighbor's dog crosses the street, walks over here, and decides to hang out with my dog. All good. As long as they don't drool on me, because they like to drool. Okay. So last week, I got rid of my social media. And here's what I want to share with you is, I was told for the past year, as I was building up X, and like the important thing when you start a business is networking, like going to these mixers and talking to people in your realm of business, which can be important, I think, to an extent, but I don't think we should get caught up in it. And the reason being is because that's not who you're around. Right? That's just not your world. I think once you start something, the Lord's going to enter you into this area of life, and you're going to run into customers and peers and things like that. And that is really, and I don't think, and if you have a good product, you're not going to have to go seeking out these mixers and things like that to sell your product. And it's the same with how we do life. And I think this is what gets looked over a lot. Is there's people on your street right now that I think we can get along with. And I think we've been so caught up in social media that we miss what's right in front of us. Social media, our phone, whatever that is, and comfortability, I think, that we forget what's right in front of us. And that's, a community, people. And this is the main thing I took away from these past 2 weeks is we're called to be with people. And like I appreciate everyone that listens and tunes in. But I want to remind you, like, I'm not doing life with you in a way, right? Like, you don't see me. We don't call or text each other. Maybe some of us do, but a lot of us don't. And so I want you to I want you to hear this. I want you to focus on the people that you see every day. Right? Do they know the Lord? Are you showing them love and respect? Do you have community with them? Do you have each other over for dinner? Like, do you understand what's going on in your community? Like, what are the needs of your community? And this is what's really been, pulling my heartstrings past couple weeks. And so here's what I'm going to encourage you to do is I want you to make a call list. And that call list is every day when you have time. If you just have time for one call a day, 2, 3, however many you can, start calling people on that list. Just go in order. Check in on them. People you do life with, your neighbors, check on them. Old friends you care about and love, start calling them. Just to chat, see how everything's going. What do they need? That's social. That's truly social. That's loving our neighbor. Not going on Twitter and reacting and posting different things. Now you can meet, I guess you could meet people on there and you establish friendships and things like that. But to me, it's really hard to establish a friendship through screen. And I've never seen someone's face, or I have just through a picture, and that it can work and you could really do that, but you have to be intentional about that. So that's my encouragement first, because this is easier, is be intentional with the people that you know. And we can't do life alone. You can't sit behind your computer screen or your phone your entire life and say, like, I have friends on the other side of this screen. It's not, to me, it's not real in a sense. But I'm working through this right now. I'm just putting this together. There's change of plans. I'm going totally against what I had planned. But I think it's really important for my generation, the generation before me, and after me. I'm smack dab in the middle of. So there's three current generations who are obsessed with their phones, with chasing fame, I think, and money, and they just want to be known and heard. And why are we doing this? I think it's very clear we're supposed to be with people, actually physically with them, and then know the needs of our brothers and sisters in Christ, our brothers and sisters outside the body of Christ. What are their needs, to show them the love of Christ? And you can't do that if you're so far away. So I think actually, like, the region just how we talk about, college football and all the time, how it not being regional is ruining college football. Well, we're not being regional. Like, as humans, as neighbors, we need to be regional again. We need to care about the people that are close to us, that we actually interact with. So that's my encouragement to everyone. And then once again, like, we can't do life alone. We need people. So, if you are looking for community and you're in the Fresno area, hit me up. I'm on X, Caleb_Nail, NALE. Hit me up. Love to go grab a cup of coffee and chat. And, you guys cook something, you and your wife, or you and your husband cook something up that's you want to share. I'd love to come over and try it. And then we'll do the same. I'll barbecue because that's all I can do. I can't leave the cooking to my wife. I'll just throw stuff on the grill. But we want to do life with people. So that's my message. Just real quick story from Nehemiah. Nehemiah was cupbearer for the king, and he was a Jew, or his hometown was Jerusalem, and the Jews were they'd been conquered, and so they're scattered everywhere. And the cupbearer for the king, he was very wealthy. He's the one putting his life on the line, and it sounds like he was rewarded for it. Tasting the wine and things like that, making sure it was all good. But he went back to Jerusalem and found that the wall needed to be rebuilt. So he said, "We're going to rebuild the wall." And it's something that he didn't necessarily know how to do. And he gathered everybody around in Jerusalem, and they came from all over to rebuild the wall. So he didn't do it alone. He was with community. He didn't rebuild the wall for himself. He wasn't even living there. So it's not about us. It's about others, right? This is why we do life. And I think the Christian faith, if you're a follower of Jesus, this, but it's probably the most challenging thing. I think what happens is we get so caught up in, what is the Lord telling me? What is this passage telling me? But what can I what do I need? Here's what I need, Lord. Can you fulfill it? And I'll say, like, once you turn over your life to Christ, your life he's going to fulfill your needs. Hey, guarantee that. But that's not why we turn over our life to Christ, just so that our needs are fulfilled. We turn our life over to Christ because he's the living God who created us, who died for us, so that we can be forgiven of our sins and live forever in eternity. And by the way, that eternity can be now on earth. That eternity can be found on earth, which is wild. And I think it's so cool. And then once we commit our lives to Christ, it is no longer about us, but about others. It's about helping the orphans, the widows. I think, and everything, we talk about this forever, but I think the Christian faith has been hijacked by unbelievers that say they're Christian, but they're not Christian. Because you could tell by their fruits. Okay, that's biblical. That says that in the Bible. You could tell by their fruits. And it's if they follow Jesus, it's not about them. It's not about me. It's about others, helping others. Helping others in their walk with Christ, helping others find Christ, helping others, helping the needy. But the thing is, we can't do it alone. It's really hard to do it alone. Jesus didn't even do it alone. Jesus went and handpicked 12 guys, and they spent 3 years together, just taking care of the needy, healing, praying, preaching, I, he didn't do it alone. So, and I think a lot of Jesus followers say we were trying to walk like Jesus and what he preached. Well, the first thing he did was go find others. He went and did it with a community. And I think that gets looked over. Second thing in the Nehemiah story is there were a lot of people like the Samaritans, I believe it was the Samaritans. Yeah, they were the people in Samaria were making fun of them for rebuilding the wall. And to quote from Nehemiah, they say, "What are these feeble Jews doing? Will they restore it for themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they finish up in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of rubbish and burn ones at that?" And they say, if a fox goes up on it, he will break down their stone wall. Right at the end of the story, they rebuild this wall. But you have your enemies are going to start speaking out against you. They're going to make fun of you. The enemy wants to discourage and confuse. Okay, then what happens is in Nehemiah, it goes on to say that even within their own group, people they started to fall into that trap. They started to discourage and confuse their own people. And so it's really important, but it's really important to understand that the Lord rebuilds. Like, look who he used. Look who he's used throughout the gospel, throughout the Old Testament, throughout the Gospels. Look who he used. He used broken people. He used people like us who didn't deserve life because we sin and are broken people. And yet he rebuilds broken people. And then he calls them together to rebuild a wall, to build his kingdom, because when we work together, it makes for a strong team. And it says in Nehemiah that the people had a heart for the work, meaning building the work for the wall. And so my question is to you and me is, where is our work? No, where is your work? People talk about writing down goals and things like that. I would encourage, and I'm going to do the same. Let's pray. Where is our work? Because if we follow Christ, we have a heart for work, right? And I think people want to make like, oh, the Lord is calling me to do this. The Lord is calling me to that. No, 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 no. The Lord is calling you to him. That's what our calling is. The Lord is calling us to be with him. Then once we turn over our lives to him, he will guide our steps. And it is our job to follow his will for us. Don't deny the Spirit. So where is my work? Well, it's wherever the Lord takes me, but I'm going to humble myself before the Lord and let him guide me. And that's hard. 1 Peter 5, chapter 5, verse 6 through 10. Humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. So it starts with humbling ourselves. Be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in your faith, knowing that the same kinds of suffering are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world. And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. Okay, the first part of this says, be sober-minded, be watchful. So I wrote down in my notes as a reading and listening to this, what causes you to not be sober? Right? What causes, and for me, social media. It was a distraction from the real world. It was a distraction from my community. It's mindless, right? Just like getting drunk or high causes you not to be sober, get rid of all the distractions in the world, right? You can cater social media to that, where it's just sports, and I can get rid of everything. And you see, we're at war, right? A spiritual war. There's lots of physical wars going on too. But more importantly, there's a spiritual war going on. And if you follow Christ, you have signed up to be a warrior in this war. And as the devil prowls around like a roaring lion seeking to devour, we have to be ready to fight. We have to be sober-minded, be watchful. And I don't know if I were you, but if I was in physical war, right, the earthly flesh war, I'm not sleeping. I'm not getting drunk or high, and like I'm being sober-minded, ready to fight all the time, ready to resist the enemy all the time. So to end this, and we'll talk sports. Usually do about 20 minutes of this, not on purpose, but just happens to be that way. But to end all this, I'm going to be off social media way more than usual, because I think that is one thing that the enemy uses in my life to cause distraction and confuse me. And that's what the enemy wants. And when I'm off of that, I have to learn how to be bored, or I call people or text people and make sure the people within my community, like the people I grew up with, the people, my friends, my physical neighbors, the town that I live in, I'm more inclined to figure out what's going on, talk to these people, meet their needs, what do they need? Just by being sober minded, getting rid of social media. I'm telling you, and I would encourage you, just try it. Try it. Try it for 2 weeks. Some people say a week. Try it for 2 weeks. It's life-changing. It clears your mind. But while you do this, I want you make sure that you focus on Christ. Dig into his word, meditate on it, and then really digest it. Don't just take it in, but really digest the word. Well, thanks for, I don't know, that was just, I wasn't planned, talk about all that, but thanks for putting up with that. And, but let's talk some sports. Okay. I want to recap the weekend in college football. And then there's a couple things, and then we're going to get to a Yeovil-Town update, but let's recap college football. Okay. I went by conference here, just looking at some headlines, and leave your thoughts down below. 1 on Jesus Talk, and then 2 on college football weekend. Comment on, if you're on YouTube, that really helps me out. Like the video, share the video, and then subscribe as well, and tell your friends. And if you're on X, like and share, repost. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, so this was supposed to be the huge weekend of college football. It's entertaining, exciting weekend, and it was. It was fun. Last week, or 2 weekends ago, was great as well. 2 amazing weekends of college football. A lot happened this weekend. And 6 weeks in, for most teams, they're 6 games in. So we're halfway through the regular season, and there's only one team that I would pick to win the national championship. There's only one team that I can really trust. And that's first-year SEC team, Texas Longhorns. I can't trust Bama. Can't trust Georgia, Ohio State. I don't trust Oregon. Penn State, no. Tennessee, no. The contenders that were supposed to be the contenders, I don't trust. Texas is the only one. Okay, we'll get to the SEC at the end. First, I want to start in the ACC. I went but alphabetical order by conference, checking in on everything and watching highlights and things like that. And Cal. Okay. Cal played Pitt, a ranked Pitt team. And I believe that is an undefeated Pitt team as well. But they played Pitt and they lost. I believe they lost by 2 points. And that makes 3 straight losses for Cal. They lost to Florida State. They lost to Miami. They lost to Pitt. Okay. They lose to Florida State. They were winning most of that game, had every opportunity to win that game, lost it. The Miami game should have won that game as well. They allowed a comeback. Then there was a terrible call by the refs. You can somewhat blame the refs on the loss. They call a targeting penalty. That was not targeting, in my opinion. And then they go play Pitt and miss a field goal to win it, miss a 40-some yarder to win the game. Pitt would have had a chance, but I think they win that game if they hit the field goal. This Cal team is 8 points. They're 0-3 against those 3 ACC teams, and they lost by a combined score of 8. 8 points away from being 6-0. And by the way, I don't think they had Jaden Ott against Pittsburgh, their starting running back, who's really good. This Cal team, this was their chance to cause some drama in the ACC against Miami and Pitt, 2 teams that have the opportunity to play for an ACC championship. They didn't take advantage of it, but I think there is growing optimism in Cal. And they had game day there for the Miami game, and it was wild. I don't know if you saw the videos there, but Cal has the venue, has the football program and the pieces in place to be competitive and compete at a high level. They are right there. And I also think the same about Stanford. They got blasted by Notre Dame, okay? But Stanford's young, first-year head coach. They beat Syracuse. Once Stanford gets going, we all know, we saw Stanford a few years back dominate with Harbaugh and Shaw. Like they get a good coach. They can recruit good players there, especially because they're academics. They can be competitive. And in the ACC, if it stays together, by the way, those 2 California teams could be very competitive and start and possibly winning the ACC, along with the other new team, SMU, who looks to be one of the better teams in the ACC. Crazy. And it's crazy to me that Cal can lose 3 games by a combined score of 8 points, and they should have won all 3. And those 3 teams were Florida State, Miami, and Pitt. Those are good teams. Well, not Florida State. Should not have lost to Florida State. Terrible. All right, let's continue. Big 12. Colorado played Kansas State. Very entertaining. Colorado games are always entertaining. The Big 12 is the most entertaining conference right now. Most entertaining conference, no doubt. You had Colorado, Kansas State. You had Arizona State, Utah, a former Pac-12 matchup. By the way, whoever it was that robbed us of the Pac-12, I do not like them. I mean, let me phrase that. We need to pray for them. Because this Pac-12 would have been insane. Last year was insane. But you would have a fun Colorado team, a strong, tough, resilient Arizona State team, Utah, who's always good, but Cam Rising, this was his first game back from injury this year. Well, other than the first week when he hurt his hand, then he came back and had to play Arizona State. Cam Skattebo looks insane. He looked insane last year. But this year, this game in particular, stud. I mean, he's a type of player I want on my team. You go listen to the press conference after the game. Love that kid. If I'm a coach, I want every kid to be like Skattebo. He's the way he plays, the way he interacts with the media. I mean, he's just professional. He's himself. And I love that. I love that. The Big 12 is so exciting. You got BYU, who looks good, which is crazy. I mean, but, oh no, we're robbed the Pac-12. We were robbed of the Pac-12. Washington State has a decent team. They got a fun offense. You got Oregon. I think Oregon State's tough. A good USC team. I mean, it would have been a lot of fun. A lot of fun to watch these Pac-12 teams play against each other. They would have beat the crap out of each other like they do every year and ruin everyone's chances of getting into the college football playoff. But I think it would have been a fun year to watch USC and Oregon in the Pac-12. Then people, what could they do against Arizona State and Colorado? You got to survive those games. Those are tough games. And Utah. Gosh, the Pac-12 was fun. Big 12, though, this year is, in my opinion, the most entertaining conference. Army remains unbeaten, 5-0 after they just crushed UAB. And by the way, Army avoids Memphis. Memphis has to play Navy. Memphis is a one-loss team. And Memphis did beat South Florida to improve to 4-1. But the Memphis Navy game is going to be huge. Game day should go there whenever they play. I think it's towards the end of the year. And then, of course, you got Army Navy at the end of the year, which is going to be so fun if Army Navy continue to win. And I think Army is going to win a lot of games this year. Really quick, here's the rest of Army's schedule. But 44-10 over UAB. Crushed them. East Carolina, win. Air Force, win. At North Texas, who, North Texas is 5-1. It's going to be tough. North Texas plays Memphis next week. That should be a fun one. And then Army gets Notre Dame. By the way, Army ranked number 23 right now. Let's go. I'm all about it. Then they get UTSA, and then they get the 25th ranked team, Navy. An Army-Navy matchup with both of them being ranked would be it would be awesome. It would be awesome. It's going to be fun. I mean, Memphis Navy should be fun. Army Navy should be fun. I'm a big fan. But here's what I'm thinking. Okay, to go back to the Army game, Army UAB game, is as a person from Fresno, what has happened with Trent Dilfer? He's the current head coach at UAB. It's bad. He left his high school team. He had a very successful high school team to play at UAB. And the quote from Trent Dilfer, I don't have the actual quote, but to paraphrase what he said about the reason he didn't apply for the Fresno State job, because we don't care about football here. Well, you better win if you go to Alabama. By the way, you tell me we don't care about football. Go talk to anybody right now about Fresno State. They all know exactly what's going on at Fresno State, and they care that we're not very good right now. They care. And I can guarantee you the people in Alabama care that UAB is not good. They've gotten worse under Trent Dilfer, and I don't know the inner workings of UAB. I don't keep up with UAB. But something's got to change, whatever that is. I want the best for Dilfer, but man, it's not going well at UAB. Big Ten. USC is this close to being elite. They're this close. All it's going to take is, I would say, another year with their defensive coordinator. Give him a year to get his guys, and this USC team is going to be deadly. Now, they're in the Big Ten, so they got to worry about Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. They got to play, Iowa defensive team, all these good schools, and Nebraska is going to be getting better. But USC is so close to being a national contender. So close. It's going to happen. I have no doubt of that. Now, in my opinion, Oregon and Ohio State are the two best teams in the Big Ten, but USC and Penn State are right there. Penn State's been right there for a while, but USC's now in that conversation with Penn State. I think that with the coaching staff at USC, they will be able to elevate their level of play, where Penn State, from what I've seen in the past, they haven't really. We'll see actually this year. We'll see. But Oregon looks like the team to beat. That game was crazy. I think that we will have a rematch of that game for the Big Ten championship. It should be a lot of fun. And I'm actually surprised by the amount of scoring that the Oregon offense was able to put up against Ohio State defense. Because going into this, I didn't know what to think about Dillon Gabriel. Like, his numbers were good, but for some reason, early in the season, games against Idaho, that didn't go well for them. You had the game against Boise State. Then they really started to put everything together. But, they games against Oregon State, UCLA, Michigan State, not the best teams out there. It's not the best resume. So I thought this is really going to be the test for Dillon Gabriel. Yeah, he proved he could do it. I mean, here you go. 23 for 34, 341 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Also, the running back, Jordan James, had a huge day. He carried the ball for 23 times for 115 yards and a touchdown. And by the way, Dillon Gabriel carried the ball 4 times for 32 yards and a touchdown. Dillon Gabriel had a good game, and they ended up winning this game by 1 point. And I think it's safe to say now that Dillon Gabriel can play with the best. This Oregon team is legit. Top 2, top 3 team in the country. And, we'll see what they could do. They still have some tests in front of them. They're going to have to play a tough Michigan defense. We'll see what they can do. But really, other than that, I don't think there's many teams for them to slip up on. They play Purdue, Illinois, then they go to Ann Arbor. So they have to play the Big House, which could be tough. But then Maryland, Wisconsin, Washington. And, Wisconsin, you never know. But Wisconsin put up 42 on Rutgers, held them to 7. But I like this Oregon team this year. Dan Lanning finally getting on a roll. I really like Dan Lanning. I hate Oregon, but I like Dan Lanning. Gosh dang it. And Oregon's going to be fun this year. They're going to be fun to keep up with this back half of the season. All right, Carmen. Oh, by the way, Iowa scored 40 points. Insane on Washington. Iowa scored 40 points. When was the last time we said that? I don't know. Conference USA. Conference USA is going to cause a lot of problems. Here's why. Liberty beat FIU in overtime. I don't trust Liberty. Like I said, there's only one team I trust. And that's the Texas Longhorns to actually be there, right? Week in and week out. Yeah, they play Georgia next week. But man, Texas has looked good. But Liberty was supposed to be the team that goes undefeated, no problem, right? Well, the App State game was canceled, which is a massive bummer. But App State was not the team that we thought they were going to be. But Liberty haven't really taken care or really blown out anybody. They beat New Mexico State 30-24. UTEP's not a good team. They beat them 28-10. That's fine. They beat East Carolina 35-24. They beat FIU in overtime 31-24. Liberty's 5-0. The rest of their schedule, Kennesaw State, Jacksonville State, who, by the way, is 3-3. That's going to be a tough game for Liberty. Middle Tennessee State, UMass, Western Kentucky, Sam Houston. Those last two games, Western Kentucky and Sam Houston, will be tough as well. But there is a scenario here where Liberty goes undefeated, goes 11-0. I don't think they're going to be able to reschedule the App State game. I haven't heard anything yet. Comment down below if you know any different. But they go 11-0, win Conference USA championship, go 12-0, and don't get an invite to the 12-team playoff. Now, I don't think that's right. If they win the conference and go undefeated, I mean, they should be let in. But how do you let them in over a one-loss Boise State, whose only loss was to Oregon? And Ashton Jeanty is going to win the Heisman. Dude is a freak. I don't think it'll happen for Liberty. But you beat everyone in front of you. You won your conference. And then you're going to be told, sorry, everything you didn't matter because the teams you play stunk. You didn't beat them by 40 points. You can't compete for a national championship, but you're going to get the privilege of calling yourself Division I. I think, to me, that's a joke. I understand Liberty can't win the national championship. And so a lot of people's argument is, and will continue to be, if you know they can't win the national championship, why let them in? Well, they won their conference. They're undefeated. You got to give them a shot. You have to. That's why I think all conference champions should be in the playoff. All conference champions. And I don't care what you think. The two best group of 5 teams, though, UNLV and Boise, in my opinion. And one of them is going to get left out because only one can win the conference. I mean, the Sun Belt may have a couple. The American has got a couple good teams. You got Memphis, Tulane, Army, Navy, Boise, UNLV, an undefeated Liberty. Those teams are going to get left out. I think Conference USA, I think Liberty, but all these really good G5 teams this year could change college football. If this season continues to play out like it has, where Boise wins, Liberty wins, you have Army or Navy go undefeated, you're going to have a one-loss one-loss Boise State team with the Heisman winner and their one loss being to Oregon and Mountain West champ. You're going to have an undefeated Liberty and then an undefeated Army or Navy that win it. Who do you take as your conference champ? Are you going to leave out the two undefeateds? Or are you going to take Boise, who's probably played the tougher schedule and has really passed the eye test as, I would say, the best G5 team right now, unless they lose to UNLV, which I think is very possible. I mean, there's lots of scenarios here, and I think this year, the first year of the 12-team playoff, could be gone after this year. And I hope it is. It's maybe the last 12-team playoff. All right, Mac. Everybody jump on the Kent State bandwagon. Kent State's 0-6. The next game is against Bowling Green. I mean, Kent State lost, I think, it was St. Peter's, Pennsylvania, some FCS school. They lost to an FCS school. They're 0-6. I think it's time for them to get a win. It's all time to support Kent State. Send Kent State your love. All right, SEC. Well, I'm skipping over the Mountain West because I kind of talked about it. Boise, give JT the Heisman. UNLV is going to be tough, a tough task for them. But UNLV and Boise are the two best teams. Fresno, you got to go listen to Boyer Bulldogs. We had a long talk last night about where Fresno State's at. And, I mean, things have to change for Fresno. Colorado State, San Jose State, fun game. Wyoming, San Diego State, fun game. San Diego State is, I believe, are they 2-0? 3-0 in the Mountain West. They're undefeated in the Mountain West. I mean, freshman quarterback, somehow San Diego State always figures out how to put it together. They may cause some problems in the Mountain West. Same with Nevada. Big win over Oregon State. Played SMU close. I mean, this Nevada team's good. Fresno State is struggling bad. We play Nevada next week. I don't think it's going to go well. And if we lose to Nevada, all heck's going to break loose. And it's going to be bad in Fresno if we lose to Nevada. Now talking SEC, I already said it. The only team I trust in the country is Texas. I don't trust Bama. Okay, they lost to Vandy. They barely escaped South Carolina. I don't trust Georgia. You lost to Bama. and you allowed 31 points to Mississippi State. A 1-4 Mississippi State team who's now 1-5 after you beat them. I don't trust Tennessee. Tennessee lost, and then they played a tight one against Florida. Yes, Florida's a good team. I would say Florida's a tough team. I don't want to say they're good, but they're tough. But I don't trust Tennessee. Can't trust Ole Miss. LSU is a surprising 5-1. They just beat Ole Miss. But the remaining schedule for LSU, you get Arkansas, Texas A&M, Bama, Florida, Vandy, and then Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma's not good this year. But, I mean, I can't trust LSU. Vandy beat Kentucky, who I thought maybe Kentucky would have had a shot because they played Georgia close. And they beat Ole Miss, but they lost to Vandy. And then, I mean, the rest of their schedule is pretty tough. They get Florida, Tennessee, Texas, Louisville. I don't think Kentucky's it. You can't trust them. And then you got Vandy here. I mean, they lost to Mizzou and Georgia State. But then they beat Bama. And they beat Kentucky. And Kentucky's a good team. They get Ball State this next game. They should win that game. And then they get Texas. And Texas after Georgia. Don't trust Vandy, but that's fun. Vandy's a fun headline. Like that. So I think the SEC is the Texas Longhorns to lose. Other than that, I can't trust anybody else. So we'll see how it plays out. Every week is going to be so much fun. The headlines in this college football season are like every year, are so fun and exciting. And a lot can change. And that's what I think a lot of these college football fans get wrong, or they're blinded to, is that people can change their minds. And that is okay. And guess what? It's a good thing. And that's the wonderful thing about sports, is that you have to go out and prove it. Unlike politics, where you can hide all the time, or I think about churches, how they run. They can hide behind the pulpit. They can hide things. Sports are great because you can't hide anything. You could say what you want, but then the game gets played and you can't hide. Everything comes to light. And that is also biblical. Everything comes to light. So confess your sins and he will be faithful and just. Don't worry. I think college football is so fun, and I can't wait for college basketball, man. It's going to be exciting. Last thing, we got our Yeovil-Town update. So it's been a while since, it's been 2 weeks. So we missed 4 games. They tied Yeovil-Town update, by the way. Let me preface it with this. Yeovil-Town is a soccer team in England. They're in the lower levels. They're not even considered professional. You have the Premier League, the top. You have the Championship League, which is second tier. Then you have League 1 and League 2. So tier 3 and tier 4. Those are considered your professional leagues. Then below that, you have the amateur leagues. Yeovil-Town used to be up in the second tier. They got relegated all the way down. This is what England does right. They know how to run leagues, entertaining leagues. Relegated all the way down because of poor leadership and ownership. Now they're working their way back up, and we're following them because that's the team that I like. And they're in Yeovil. They're kind of like the Green Bay Packers. Like, they're green, but the stadium built by the fans. Very community-oriented. As you could tell if you listen to this episode, that's what we like here. Last 4 games, though. Tied with Sutton United, 0-0. Tied 1-1 with Alderson Town. They won 1-0 over Dagenham and Redbridge. And then their last game, they lost 1-0 to Chesham United. Chesham United. League table has them sitting 10th right now. They have to finish at least in the top 7 to have an opportunity to get promoted to the next league. Okay, we sit in 10th place with 18 points. The 7th place team has 21. So we're 3 points behind. We get a win, and we're tied. Okay, and everyone has played 13 games in this league table. So right now we're okay. We'd love to get promoted, but we got to do better than we tied to in our last 4. Wonder if they have the last 5 on here. No, they don't. But in the last 4, we have tied to 1-1. So that's 5 points, and then lost when we dropped 3 points. I can't have tie. We got to win games. We have to win games. And here's the tough part. Is Yeovil-Town is 2-3 at home with 2 ties. Okay, so 2 wins, 3 losses, 2 ties. That's not a good home record. We got to step it up at home. Away, though, we have 3 wins, 2 losses, and 1 tie. Or we're a better away team. We have more wins away than we do at home. Look, we keep the way we're doing. We keep what we're doing at the away games, and then we change what we're doing at the home games. This totally different season. And we've only played 13. I believe you play 46 games. You got to play every team twice. So there's still plenty of season left. It could get better. It could get way worse. By the way, if you finish in 21st through 24th, you get relegated. The bottom 4 teams go down a tier. And I believe the top 2 teams in this league get bounced up. So you have the first place team. First place team has 30 points, Barnet. They get automatically promoted. And then you have 2 through 7 go to a playoff. And the winner of that playoff also gets promoted. So that's why I say we want to be at least 7 so we get into that playoff and give us an opportunity. We are the only team by the way, in here with a goal differential of 0, meaning there's been 14 goals scored against Yeovil Town and 14 goals scored by Yeovil Town. 0. The only team in here. We need to improve on that as well. So it's going to be fun. We'll continue keeping up with Yeovil Town as we go. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts on college football. Only team I trust is Texas. Good for Iowa, scoring 40 points, man. Can't believe I'm saying that. Something must be going on in the world. It's crazy. Share your thoughts on anything that I missed that you think is important for the college football world to know down below, and go back and listen to our Jesus talk again. And what are your thoughts on that? And I'll end it like this. For God so loved the world, he gave his only one and only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish but have eternal life. And that Son that he sent is Jesus Christ. Jesus humbled himself. He was sitting on the throne. He humbled himself to come down to earth, take on human flesh, die for us, take on sin, conquer it, rise again on the third day, and is now back on his throne in heaven so that we could be with him. That's how much he loves us. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support. Check in on some people. Make a call list. Call some people today. Check in on them. See how they're doing. What do they need? All right, guys. Take care.